Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be an update on all of the series I'm currently in the middle of. This number just keeps getting bigger and bigger. I think it's nearing 50, which I need to get under control. I need to get this down. I hate limiting myself to starting series, but I do have a challenge for myself and it is the middle of September when I'm filming this, and this fall, which I'm counting fall as like September, October, November, not September 20 whatever to December 20 whatever, you know what I mean? This fall, I need to finish 5 series or else I need to go on a book buying ban until I read 30 books off my physical TBR. Which that is also a video on my long list of video ideas, is doing an update on my physical TBR. Last time I filmed it I was around 140 and it's definitely increased, so that would be a really hard book buying ban for me, I'm just saying. So I'm extremely motivated to finish 5 of these series. Hold me to it. Now I did grab a number of books off my shelves, and any that I don't own or I forgot to grab, I'm not going to run across the house and grab them. I'll be popping in pictures. I took the time to reorganize my series tracker. It used to be like the series I started longest ago was at the top, and when I started a new series I put it at the bottom. That was just not working for me super well. Let me drag over my computer. So I reorganized it, and now I have 3 categories. I have books I only have one more book to read, whether that is the series finale or there's one more book out currently that I can read. Then I have series I'm all caught up on, which we are going to start this off with. They are still on my tracker. Their new books are set to release in the next year. So I want to keep them in mind and not just completely forget about them. And then I named it Lots More to Go. So 2 or more books to go to catch up on or finish the series. And like I said, my goal is to finish 5 series by the end of November, or else I am on a book buying ban until I read 30 books off my physical TBR, which would be very hard for me. Okay, let's start off with the series I'm all caught up on. I'm waiting for the sequel to come out. First, yeah, see, I didn't grab any of my Sarah J. Maas books. Why is that? I have Crescent City. I have read House of Earth and Blood, House of Sky and Breath. I have pre-ordered House of Flame and Shadow. I'm very excited for that book. It comes out the day after my birthday. Another book I pre-ordered Iron Flame, which is the sequel to Fourth Wing. This is my favorite book I've read so far this year. I loved it so much. I pre-ordered it so I can again have the beautiful sprayed edges, and I plan on reading that book the second it arrives at my door. Then I have The Sacred Stones, which I read A Dawn of Onyx this year, and I did not realize that we are waiting over 1 year for A Promise of Peridot. That comes out April 2024. I did not pre-order that. I'm hoping to read it on Kindle Unlimited. I did not love A Dawn of Onyx, but I'm definitely interested to continue. This is another fantasy romance series. Fantasy romance is like my #1 genre, if you're new here. Alright, now let's get into books that I only have one more book to finish off the series or catch up on the series. First, I am reading the Farseer trilogy by Robin Hobb. I've read Assassin's Apprentice, Royal Assassin, and I just need to read Assassin's Quest. These are very hard-hitting adult fantasy. Lots of pulling on your emotions, lots of crying occurs when I read these books, and Assassin's Quest is chunky. It's a chunky book, so I'm just intimidated by it, basically. Similarly, with the Mistborn Era 1 trilogy by Brandon Sanderson, I still need to read The Hero of Ages, the third book in that trilogy. I've read The Final Empire, The Well of Ascension, and Brandon Sanderson is one of my very favorite fantasy authors, and yet I'm always intimidated to pick up his books. But then once I've started them, I can't stop and I read them very fast. I just can't get past this mental block I have with many of these adult fantasy series specifically. I'm always reaching for a fantasy romance or a YA or just a romance over these, even though I love them. I can't get over this block in my brain to read The Hero of Ages and just knock this trilogy off. Why is that? Hopefully this challenge to myself will force me to finish some of these, but I do have one more book left in order to finish Mistborn. Legendborn, I don't know if this is a duology or there will be more books coming in this series. If you know, let me know. Legendborn by Tracy Dion. I have read and reread Legendborn in preparation to read Bloodmarked, the second one, and I still haven't picked up Bloodmarked. I started Legendborn, I read it the first time in 2021. I reread it earlier this year thinking that I would then read Bloodmarked and knock this off, but I haven't yet. The Bear and the Nightingale, the Winter Night trilogy by Catherine Arden. I've read The Bear and the Nightingale, The Girl in the Tower earlier this year. I read that this summer. I still need to read The Winter Witch. This is another adult fantasy. This is like a polar fantasy set in Russia, a very cold setting, so hopefully this winter I can knock this one off the list. A fantasy romance series, The Plated Prisoner series by Raven Kennedy. I still need to read Glow, which would have me caught up, but then Gold comes out in December. So I technically have 2 books left in the series, but only one left for me to read that is currently out. I really enjoyed this series. I think I gave Guild 4 stars and Glint and Gleam both 4 or 5 stars. I don't know. I'm really enjoying it, but I have no ambition, motivation maybe. What is wrong with me to like catch up ASAP. Lore Olympus is a graphic novel series. I've been getting it from my library. It's a fantasy romance, Hades and Persephone retelling. I really love the art style now. It wasn't my favorite at first, but it's really grown on me. I need to read volume 4. And once again, this is something that's ongoing and I'm not sure when volume 5 is being published. So it's going to be like hopping around from like one more book to all caught up repeatedly, I imagine. But as of right now, I only have volume 4 to read. A duology that I should definitely be able to cross off this list is the Anatomy duology. The first being Anatomy, a love story. The second one being Immortality, a love story. This is a YA historical romance with necromancy, like a little bit of fantastical element to it. I really enjoyed the first one for being a YA romance and do want to read the second one, and that should be easy to knock off my list. Throne of Glass. This is a reread for me. Sam and I have been buddy reading this all year and we are currently reading Kingdom of Ash. I am so excited and scared to finish this book. Let me know if you think I should count this as one of my 5 because it is a reread. I mean, technically it'll get crossed off my list, but if you think that's cheating, I can understand that as well. But as of right now, I have one more book to go. I need to finish Kingdom of Ash to cross that off my list. And I do have The Sinner's Duet by Sophie Lark. There are no saints and there is no devil. I just need to read There Is No Devil. I really like this. It's a serial killer dark romance. I really enjoyed There Are No Saints quite a lot. So those are the 9 series. I only have 1 book available to me to read to cross them off my list. It's not necessarily going to be 5 of the 9 to meet my challenge. There could be a trilogy I've only read the first book from, and if I read the next 2 in the next 2 months, then that counts as well. We are now into the series. I have a lot more to go. First series I started in 2018 is The Mortal Instruments by Cassandra Clare. I have reread City of Bones, City of Ashes, and City of Glass. I'm now moving, where are my books? To the Infernal Devices, and I have read Clockwork Angel, and so I need to read Clockwork Prince, Clockwork Princess, and then return to the Mortal Instruments. So this counts as 2 series on my list. But I'm not going to be making any progress in the Mortal Instruments until after I finish the Infernal Devices. I have Nevernight by J. Kristoff on here. I would like to reread Nevernight and then continue on. I do own God's Grave, but I don't own Nevernight or Dark Dawn. So I will need to purchase those eventually. Red Rising by Piers Brown. I'm actually planning to reread Red Rising in September in order to continue on, because I read this for the first time in 2019, and I do own now Red Rising, Golden Sun, and Morning Star. You'll be seeing those in my next book haul. I owned Red Rising before, but it was like a library copy that they were getting rid of. So it was quite beat up. It had the shiny plastic wrap on it. It was a hardcover, and I found the trilogy in paperback at my charity book shop. So I'm really excited to reread this. I think I'm going to buddy read this with my friend Rebecca. Next I have Heartstopper, the graphic novel series. I read the first volume in 2020 and never continued, and I don't really know why. These are books that I would love to own on my bookshelves someday, but for now I will get them from the library. I should just request all 4 volumes and binge read them back to back to back. That would not take me very long at all. So I really have no excuse as to why that is still on here. Another one I want to reread. This is what happens when you're in the middle of almost 50 series, is at least I feel like I need to reread books in order to continue on, and that is like a limiting factor for me as well. So I have The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I only have the first 3 on here. You'll have to let me know if the new book, The Brothers Hawthorne, is included in like this same series, or is it like technically a spin-off and it's going to be a new trilogy, just for tracking purposes if I have 3 books to read or 4. I have the Hot and Hammered series by Tessa Bailey, which I didn't even realize was a series until I was like redoing my spreadsheet and looking up like books I've read. And I read Fix Her Up in 2020, and there are 2 other books in this like companion standalone romances. So I don't feel that I don't need to reread Fix Her Up in order to continue, but they are romance books that I am interested in reading. I have the His Dark Materials series by Philip Pullman here. I have the omnibus. I find that word so weird, like this bind up of the trilogy. I did read The Golden Compass, and I now need to read The Subtle Knife. This is just holding my place between like I read this book 1 and I still need, The Subtle Knife actually looks smaller, so maybe I should do that sooner rather than later. That is like a polar fantasy, but I think is it considered middle grade or YA? I'm not sure. I have the Blood and Ash series by Jennifer L. Armentrout. I don't have From Blood and Ash to show you because my mom's actually borrowing that, but I've read the first 3 books in that series, and now I know I need to start the Flesh and Fire series. I do own An Ember in the Ashes, An Ember in the Shadows. What is that book? I am the worst. A Shadow in the Ember, not an Ember in the Shadows. Jeez Louise. So I need to read that one first before I can continue with the Blood and Ash series to read The War of Two Queens. I need to finish the 6 series by Samantha March. These are just chick lit novellas following a group of 6 friends. And each story is like less than 200 pages, focusing on one girl from the friendship group. They're quick reads. the Tide Child trilogy by R.J. Barker. This is an adult nautical, like set at sea series. I read the first book, obviously, and then I never continued. I actually really enjoyed the first book. I gave it 4 stars, but then Covers with Cassidy's Backlist Book Club read the trilogy and they had really negative things to say about it. I didn't follow along with their book club, but that really makes me hesitant to finish it. I haven't said I'm going to DNF the series because I'm still kind of interested to read it, but they made me really nervous too. A series that I have on here, but I'm in no rush to finish, they're great for readathons, is A Series of Unfortunate Events by Lemony Snicket. I've read the first 2. I have the whole series, I believe, on my shelf. I might be missing 1 or 2 for my children. If I see the ones I'm missing at yard sales or something, I tend to pick them up. I do find these really entertaining. I loved the movie growing up, and I really like the Netflix series as well. These are just fun to throw in for readathons every once in a while, but it's not a priority by any means. Now we're getting into some more thick fantasy books that I find incredibly intimidating. The Dandelion Dynasty by Ken Liu. I read The Grace of Kings and I didn't continue because I didn't love this book. It felt like a history textbook to me. But I really enjoyed the character work in here, and I know it's a 4-book series, but this is really like a prequel. This is setting up the world. This is the before. And everyone says the next 3 books is kind of like the core trilogy, and it's absolutely amazing. And I know that, and yet I find it really hard to move past this because I'm worried that the next book is going to be just like this one, even though people have told me again and again that it isn't. Semi-similarly, I have the Faithful and the Fallen series by John Gwynne. I have read Malice and Valor, and I absolutely loved both of them. And yet, because of their sizes, I own Ruin and Wrath, and they're just so chunky that I'm always hesitant to reach for them. But similarly to Brandon Sanderson, I think John Gwynne is another one of my very top favorite fantasy writers. Once I commit to reading these books, I sit down, I open the pages, I fly through them. So really the size should not be intimidating to me. I've had smaller books take me way longer to read, but just the visual jumbo books on my shelves make me not want to pick them up. Maybe I don't want to buy these again on Kindle, because Kindle, I can read big books on Kindle without batting an eye because you can't see the pages. But I'm wondering if I can maybe get the audiobook and then get started. I do prefer to read these physically, but maybe if I start the audiobook, I get 75 to 100 pages in, I'll be less intimidated to pick these up. Maybe that could be a strategy I try. I have no idea. Classic series for fantasy lovers that I have not read. The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. I have read and reread The Hobbit and still have not read the core trilogy, The Fellowship of the Ring, The Two Towers, and The Return of the King. And I own them, haven't read them. I should be ashamed of myself. The next one I have on here is the Wayward Children series by Shauna McGuire. I have read the first 4 books. I have 5 more to go. One of those I have on here is a novella. I mean, they're all novellas, but an even shorter novella. I think it's 4.5. This is, again, series that is great for readathons, really quick adult fantasy, but they're less than 200 pages as well. I really, really enjoy this series. I would like to own it physically someday, but as of right now, I've been getting the audiobooks from my library or the ebook if they don't have the audiobook available. Usually, like I said, in readathon capacities, like Mini TBR, Star Hop, things like that. The Zodiac Academy series by Caroline Peckham and Susan Valenti. I want to reread this one. I own books 1 and 2. I want to reread this and commit to not necessarily binging them back to back to back, but like picking the sequels up regularly, because I know that people say the first 2 books are a pretty rough start to the series, but that it gets better and better, and I want to get to the better. This is not a good book, you guys. Like, there's a lot of flaws in here. I hated a lot of things in here. I was laughing at the ridiculousness. Someone said like, oh, we shouldn't be too harsh on it because it's a debut. No, it is definitely not a debut, because in the back, they have written, that's not all of those other books. I was actually like waffling over putting this down and starting the Dark Fae series by the same author duo that is like the prequel series to these, and is a Why Choose series. Let me know if I should do that. I'm open to that. I could get those on Kindle Unlimited. I have the Wicked Villains series by Katie Robert. I have read Desperate Measures, and that's it. I do own The Beast and the Sea Witch, which is book 4 and 5, but I don't own 2 and 3. And these are just spicy novellas. They're not completely plotless, mostly, but not completely. I think there is going to be a mild overarching plot between these novellas. They are like 200 pages, very spicy, dark romances. The Brutal Birthright series by Sophie Lark. I have read Brutal Prince and Stolen Heir, and I really want to continue that series. It is a mafia romance series. The Red Queen series by Victoria Aveyard. I have read Red Queen, Cruel Crown, Glass Sword. I have 3 more books to read in that series, and I'm borrowing those from my friends, so I should get on those for sure. A similar series is the Air Awakens series by Elise Kova. I read the first 2 books from that one and have 4 more to go. Those series, it was really a disservice for me to read those so close together because they are so similar. And Covers with Cassidy recently binge read the Air Awakens series and really loved it. I was tempted to DNF it before that because I really did not like the second book in that series, but now I do want to continue. The Dead Djinn Universe by P. Jelly Clark. I read A Dead Djinn in Cairo, which is a novella. There are 3 novellas leading up to a full-length novel, which is A Master of Djinn. This is like a steampunk world, and it was so interesting. I'm really intrigued to continue on that series as well. Next I have the Ice Planet Barbarian series. I've only read the first one. I actually really liked it. I thought the world building specifically was really interesting. It's an alien romance. It's weird, okay? It is, but it was fun. I don't care. I have the Blackwater Pack series, which is a paranormal shifter werewolf romance series. I've read Sanctum and the novella following that, which is called Broken. I should continue that in October actually for the Monster Mash if I get the shifter prompt. I have the Holy Knights series by Lee Jacques. I don't know if I pronounce her name correctly ever. These are all spicy romance novellas, again under 200 pages, and I read Christmas on the 13th Floor as well as the 4-Leaf, and I think I gave both of them 5 stars. They were super good spicy time. I have the Shadows and Crown series by S.M. Gaither. I do own The Song of the Marked. I read this book obviously, but I don't own any of the other ones, so I'll have to read them on Kindle Unlimited. I have 4 more books to read in this series, and a lot of people DNF it after the second one, and they say it doesn't go in a direction that they were interested in. So again, when I hear negative reviews on books, I kind of pump the brakes because there's just so many books I want to read that walking into a book that a lot of people I know did not like, I'm always hesitant to read it, and yet I do want to continue the series because I liked this one so much. I just don't have the motivation to right now. I'm in the middle of the War of Lost Hearts trilogy by Carissa Broadbent. I've read Daughter of No Worlds in 2022, and then I reread it recently in order to continue. I need to read Children of Fallen Gods and then Mother of Death and Dawn, and ooh, I really want to read that. Another Mafia romance series I started is Born in Blood by Cora Riley. I read Bound by Honor. I didn't love this. I'm going to read Bound by Duty and see how I feel about that one. I think I gave Bound by Honor 3 stars, and if I give Bound by Duty 3 stars as well, I will feel more comfortable DNFing the series. The Immortals After Dark by Cressley Cole. I own most of these. This is a very, very long paranormal romance series involving Lycae. They're like werewolf shifters basically, and a vampire, and they're mated, which is a terrible idea. And I had a really good time reading this. I'm excited to continue. I've been picking these up for like 50 cents to $1 at yard sales or my local charity shop, and it's a series that's quite beat up, and if it's not an absolute favorite, I will just redonate it. Spy Family by Tatsuya Endo. I don't know if I pronounced that correctly. There are 12 volumes in total, but I'm not sure how many of those are already translated to English. We own the first 5, and I have read the first 2. These are a super fun time, and again, perfect for readathons. I have a lot of series that are like smaller books that I should just knock some out. The Chestnut Spring series by Elsie Silver. I read Flawless and loved it. I gave this 4.5 stars. I own Heartless and Powerless. I need to buy Reckless and Hopeless before these covers go away forever, because I actually really love the people on the cover ones, and I want all my series to match. So all the more reason to finish 5 series, because or else I can't buy the matching set. Maybe I'll have to keep that in mind. That is a small town romance, cowboy romance series. The Magnolia Parks universe. I have read Magnolia Parks. I have Daisy Hates, The Long Way Home, The Great Undoing, and Into the Dark to read. That's still quite a lot. These were messy. I have Daisy Hates on my September TBR though. Well, not technically, but it's on my book cart. I started Anne of Green Gables again. I haven't read that series since I was a child. I buddy read that with Linda, and that was a lot of fun. And I do have the box set with 8 books. That's by Ella Montgomery, and it is a Canadian classic. I have the STEMinist novellas by Ali Hazelwood. I did read Under One Roof, so I still have 2 more of those to go. They are novellas, like I said, just under 200 pages. I started The Mate Games by Kay Lorraine and Meg Adams. That's a 4-book Why Choose Paranormal Romance series. I read Obsession. I still have Rejection, Possession, and Temptation to go. And that's all I have on my list, but on my bed next to me, I have The Gilded Wolves by Roshani Chokshi. I'll have to add that into my spreadsheet because I just finished this book and it is a trilogy that I'm looking forward to continuing, so I need to add this one in. So that means I am in the middle of 48 series. And I know I'm going to be starting a ton more in October for the Monster Mash, but I don't have a rule to not start any more series, but I also just need to actually be finishing some. So I need to finish 5 of these series, or else I need to go on a book buying ban until I read 30 books off my physical TBR, as I mentioned at the beginning. And that's going to be really hard for me, but I'm going to force myself to do it. So that is everything for this series update plus a challenge. You'll have to let me know which series I should prioritize in finishing. I need to finish 5 of them, and also let me know if Throne of Glass counts as one of my 5. I really hope it does, but if it doesn't, that's okay too, because there's definitely a lot more series that I could be finishing. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up so that I know, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!